Hi, Democrats. Today is Monday, October 5th. And as you can see, I have a special guest today. This is Dave Ratcliff, the vice chair of the Oklahoma Democratic Party. I figure you guys need to see somebody other than just me. So we had a whole bunch of stuff that we wanted to talk about. And we invited Dave to join us to give us a different perspective. So it's me. So I'm always going to talk about making a plan to vote. So we are 29 days, less than a month, 29 days to the election. We need to be running it out, run through the tape. And so Friday is the last day to register to vote to be able to participate in the November election. Friday, October 9th is the last day to participate, last day to register to be able to participate in the election on November 3rd. So I need you reaching out to everybody you know who is, be it they're going to be 18 by November 3rd. They've been apathetic voters up till now. They are felons who are off paper, or just your neighbor who doesn't think that they get involved in politics. I need you to reach out to as many of those people as you can, get them registered by close of business on Friday so that they can participate in the election. On Tuesday, November 3rd. So I've been encouraging everybody, and if you're having a hard time trying to figure out how do I get out to the Oklahoma State Election Board, which thing do I click on, where do I go, I'm going to encourage you to go out to iwillvote.com. iwillvote.com is a really easy site that has where you can verify if you're registered, and if you're not, it will help you get registered. And while you're there, you might as well look at your sample ballot, request your absentee ballot, and verify where your polling place is. Because of COVID, a lot of polling places have been moved or combined or, all those kinds of things. And you need to know that's part of making a plan. It would suck for you to make a plan, drive over to your old polling place and find out it is no longer there. So it's really important that you make a plan to vote. Did you want to add anything, Dave?
I don't know that I could. You're covering it very well. And yes, absolutely. And there will be other things come up later that I certainly will want to talk about, but I think Alicia has more than adequately covered this part of it. But good afternoon, Democrats. Thank you.
So Dave wanted to come on and talk about supporting local candidates because, Lord have mercy, for the last week, we have been inundated with the presidential election and the shenanigans of our current chaotic creator-in-chief. And so it's easy to get distracted by the presidential election. And that is an important election. I don't want to minimize it. But what affects our roads and who our police officers are and all that kind of stuff are our local elections. And so, Dave?
Yes, absolutely. It is so important to, in addition, we'll help the top of the ticket at the same time, but it's so important to find a candidate that you can work for and start, working to help elect local candidates. Because also remember, we have been living with the consequences of redistricting for the last 10 years, and we want to do everything we possibly can to make sure to minimize the negative adverse effects of the 2020 census. So it's just real important that we get out there, work hard, and if nothing else, we send a strong, loud message that we're tired of the bull crap and we're going to do what it takes. Even if it's not all this time, we are going to stay after it until we take the House and the Senate and some statewide seats back.
So that's an interesting topic that I don't ever really talk about. So explain to people how the fact that our legislature is so heavily Republican led here in our state, how does that affect the redistricting and all of that kind of good stuff?
Well, they feel like that gives them a mandate to do the best job for the majority party, the Republicans, that they can. And they redistricted, 10 years ago, and it was awful. I mean, it really is what's the equivalent of gerrymandering, and in many states, they've been found guilty of that. And I also believe it's a violation of the, Voting Rights Act. I believe it disenfranchises people in, some communities that should not be, because what they do is they will, take, if we have a large group of Democrats, they try to whittle them away and divide them into and put them in districts where they can't really do themselves any harm.
So it's important that we have, and I've been talking about it off and on here for a little while, that it's important that we have more balance in our legislature, not just so that Democrats could actually get something passed. Wouldn't that be great? But also so that everyone is represented. When we have our districts drawn in such a way that only certain people benefit, what is it? The rising tide raises all ships. And so if you have it where there are some ships who have no hope of raising, you're disenfranchising a lot of folks, and you're not making, everybody, it's, what is it? Taxation without representation.
Yes.
Right. And so it's really important that you make a plan to vote, complete your census. Yes. And as Amber says, do the happy dance. But so the census got extended till the end of this month. And so if you haven't done it, if you haven't filled out your census, go fill out your census and make your plan to vote. I just can't say those two things really kind of go hand in hand, even though census is nonpartisan, they go hand in hand. And Jana points out, which I think is really great, the closer an elected official lives to you, the more impact that person has on your daily life. And that's absolutely true. I have no idea where Jim Inhofe lives, and he has no idea what's important to me, and he doesn't care. And so, that's U.S. Senate. But my House candidate, she lives 2.5 miles from me. So she knows what's happening on the street, on the roads, and with the police officers in my neighborhood. And so that's why it's important that you vote on local elections.
Yes, absolutely. It is critical. And Jana makes a very good point, and that's very true and very important. I am, fairly lucky. Most of my representation live pretty close to me. And so, yes, absolutely, Jana.
So there are 4 ways to vote. I talk about this all the time, but I'm going to keep talking about it. There are 4 ways to vote. So you can vote from home, is what I like to call it. And you can either hand deliver your ballot to your county election board, or you can put it in the mail. That's two ways to vote. The third is you can early vote. And early voting is October 29th through 31st. That's that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday right before the election. In most counties, early voting is at your county election board. If you're in Tulsa, early voting is at the One Oak baseball field because they have more space and it's easier to socially distance, they say. I'm concerned about parking, and I'm looking up on that, and I'll update you guys about that a little bit later. But in most counties, early voting is October 29th, 30th, and 31st at your county election board. So that's 3 ways to vote. And then the 4th way to vote is to vote in person at your polling place. Please go out to iwillvote.com to verify that your polling place hasn't changed. And if you work at a job where you have to coordinate your time with your boss, now is a good time. We're at it right about a month where you need to go out and tell him or her that you're going to come in late for voting. You're going to go home early to vote because they have to allow you.
Can I speak on that?
Please.
Yes, there is a Oklahoma state law that is, and you do have to give advance notice to your employer, and they can actually kind of designate the time that fits with the needs of the business. But by Oklahoma state law, you're excluded if you have 3 hours in the morning to go vote. So if you're scheduled to come in after 10 a.m., or if you get off of work and have 3 hours to go vote, so then you have to get off, you have to be scheduled to get off by 4 p.m. But otherwise, if you're 8 to 5 or a variation, if you don't have 3 hours in the morning or 3 hours in the evening to go vote, state law guarantees you the opportunity to go vote with pay. Your employer does have to pay you for that time as well. And you can holler at me if you need more specifics and need me to send you a copy of that law.
So I've only been talking about it casually because I didn't know the specific law. Thank goodness that Dave is here. So if you work at a job that controls your time, you need to let them know as early as possible. And right now we're at 29 days out. You need to let them know as early as possible that you plan to vote so that they can coordinate that. And by doing it this early, they have enough time to go look up the law themselves. So it's really important when you're making your plan that you take all of those little pieces into effect. I'm glad to hear that people who are voting from home are actually turning in their ballots. That's a great thing. It would suck for you to take the time to request your ballot, get your ballot, and you not turn it in and it not get counted. So I'm very proud of you guys for getting your ballots turned back in. This is a consequential election for a couple of reasons. One, we have to get a madman out of the White House. And two, we're doing redistricting, and Oklahoma is gerrymandered, all just in a crazy way. And we need a little bit more balance. I would like a lot more balance, but we need some balance in the legislature to give us some relief, because it will affect us for the next 10 years. So Dave is going to be joining me again on Thursday, because we're going to talk about the debate, which I think will be a more informative debate than the Crazy Town show that we saw last week. And so we're gonna do a post debate recap, and if we have time, we will talk a little bit more about labor. Dave, did you have anything you want to add?
Well, I've got certainly would have plenty. I want to add things that I feel very passionate about, but I don't want to take up too much time now. I'll save some of it for Thursday. But yes, absolutely. I just want to piggyback on everything Alicia said, because it's absolutely true. This is, and I know we always hear, this is the most important election of our lives. Well, this one is definitely the most important election of my life. And I would imagine I'm older than most of y'all, so I think it'd be the most important election of y'all's life too. And yeah, we hear that a lot, but this one, we all understand how important this is. The America that we know is slowly ceasing to be, and we've got to take control of it back.
All righty. Thank you, Dave. Sharing is caring. Find a local candidate, or 2 or 5. Find the local candidates, help them today. They need postcards written. They need signs dropped off. They need phone calls made and texts made. They need your help because they're not knocking doors like we have in the past. They need to get their message out. So make sure to reach out. Go out to okdemocrats.org/candidates. Find who your local candidates are and help them out. You guys have a great day, and I'll be back tomorrow. Well, no, a couple of things I want to tell you. So I'll be back tomorrow with Bruce Nemi from the Tulsa County Election Board, giving us an overview on how they're going to go about counting the absentee ballots, because there's a lot of conversation about that. This evening at 7 p.m., I hope you're watching on the Oklahoma Democrats page. Go out to our Oklahoma Democrats page at 7 and watch the Hamilton Report, where he'll be talking about the effect of COVID on the arts. So lots of stuff coming up. We're going to keep you informed. We're going to make sure Democrats know that we're out here and we're talking about things. So we're going to say goodbye and remind you that sharing is caring. You guys have a great one.
Bye.